Hey, you two, welcome to Gas Masks and Hand Grenades. I'm your host, Metal Madness Jeff, and today I'm joined by singer, guitarist, songwriter, and founding member of the 80s band Bang Tango, Mark Knight. Bang Tango released 3 albums in the late 80s and early 90s and scored a huge hit with the 89 psychedelic alternative, get out of there, hard rockers, Someone Like You. The original incarnation of the band disbanded in 1995. Mark also was in several post-Bang Tango bands, namely Worry Beads and Gravy, and now fronts his solo band, Mark Knight and the Unsung Heroes, who will be releasing a new album in the spring of 2023 called Lonesome Songs on Knifewoud Records. Please welcome my guest, Mark Knight. What's up, dude?
What's up, Jeff? How you doing, man?
Good, man. Good. We did speak before you came on, and we've actually been speaking quite a bit over the last couple of days. And you're feeling better?
I'm feeling better. I got hit by that flu going around, but
yeah,
bouncing back here. A couple days down, but I'm good.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. Hey, I want to thank you much for joining me. This is really cool. Bang Tango is a band that of course I probably found out about probably through MTV. I'm pretty sure. I heard that classic opening riff to Someone Like You, and I'm like, man, I gotta check this out.
Nice.
And we established that we're pretty close in age. I think you got me like a year or two, and so we came up through a lot of the same influences, the 70s and the 80s, stuff like that. And so we're going to get into stuff like that, but what I kind of want to do is talk to you about who Mark Knight the person is first before we get into all the music stuff. And the way I want to do that is I want to ask you if you remember as a kid, little kid, preteen, stuff like that, what your first memories of music are. Like for me, example, I always tell this example. I was born in 66. So my mom was big into the kind of early AOR 70s sort of stuff.
Right.
And so it's stuff like Simon and Garfunkel, Bridge Over Troubled Water, and Carole King, Tapestry, and James Taylor. What are your first memories? And can you remember any specific instances where a song kind of grabbed you and it still is there? It's nostalgic for you.
Yeah, there was an AM radio station called KHJ, and they just played like the 45 hits, like all the like 45s that were going around. The bands would just put out singles, and Elton John, Helen Reddy, artists like that, like so many of them, like even like Paul McCartney and Wings, and just these songs would come out and they would just grab me. My sister, I had 3 sisters, and they listened to the radio and call in and request songs, and they would hook me on just little songs that were they would just grab me personally. So then I started collecting 45s, and then one of the first things that really grabbed me as a kid, like maybe 10 years old, my parents took me to see it was called Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
the soundtrack was so moving to me.
Was that the one that had "Let the Sun Shine In"? Was that it?
Yeah, but it was like the first intro with Judas on the mountain, and he's so heavy and so just like
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Superstar. Yeah.
Insane. A bunch of hippies.
Who in the hell do you think?
Yeah.
Was that the one? That was it, right?
Yeah, and a bunch of hippies go out to the desert and replicate the whole Jesus Christ story. But the music was so moving, and it was so groovy and edgy and like 70s rock, and that turned me on to like harder rock. And then I bought like my first record, which was I think like Led Zeppelin 2 or something. And
really,
yeah, that was like my first. Then I started getting into like Kiss and different bands. But
Kiss, you and I, dude. I mean, guys our age, people don't understand that was the gateway band into the heavy stuff. You know what I mean?
It was like
I didn't know about Sabbath. I didn't know about Sabbath until the late 70s, might even been Dio before I knew about Sabbath for real. Like it's like, but you remember songs like Kung Fu Fighting? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. And like the night Chicago died. And
oh yeah,
remember that song? Like
the night Chicago. Yeah.
You're
Chicago 25 or what is it? 26 or 524, whatever.
The Chicago song, all those songs. They're just like, oh, I love music.
Like they're classic songs today. like they were then. And you mentioned Elton, man, and I mean Elton, geez, you know, those first
Those singles would just like move me. Like as a kid, I was like so
mind blowing, mind blowing.
yeah.
Somebody saying hello, Mark, Barbara.
What's up, Barbara? Barbara's in Pennsylvania, right near you.
Is she?
Yeah.
I'm in Lancaster, Barbara. Cool. So, okay, so were there any kind of like, do you have any like really specific memories of like I have a very specific memory of my next door neighbors. They had 5 older boys that were like, probably some of those dudes are in their 70s now, right? And man, they'd let the little punky kid, the little mouthy kid being me, hang out in the pool garage. They had a pool table in the garage, and they'd be playing like Yes, Close to the Edge and Zeppelin 4 and Cheech and Chong, Up in Smoke and shit like that. And it was like that memory just will not leave me. It's like there forever, you know? Do you have any of those kind of memories?
There was like yeah, me and my, we were really young. I don't know, probably, like I said, maybe 10, 11, 12. And there was this band that was rehearsing, a bunch of like teenagers, like 17, 18-year-olds. And they were rehearsing in this garage down the street from me. And one day they had the garage open and we kind of like walked up on the driveway and they let us listen to the rehearsal. And just watching those cats play like live music was the first time I ever witnessed it. Like, and just the sound of the amps and the drums, and like it was like magic.
Yeah.
And I was just like so like just blown away by watching. You know, like I do a lot of gigs. Like I've done a lot of like acoustic gigs at like wineries, and you always see the one little kid that wanders off from his parents that comes up and stares at you like in awe, like you're like a wizard. So that's
and you're like thinking to yourself, is this kid Damien or is he just into the music?
Yeah, but they're like, it's like you're like an alien circus act, and they're just blown away because music is magic to people that can't do it, especially
absolutely
kids that's never seen it. So that happened to me probably around 11, 12, 13. And then, eventually I, got hooked on rock and roll. It just, picked.
When did you pick up guitar? I'm assuming guitar was your first instrument?
Yeah. I was in the 7th grade. I was 13 or something, and I took an elective class and I took guitar with a couple buddies, and didn't think much of it, but like in a week I picked up like the initial chords right away, and I was just like, whoa, this is so cool. And then me and my buddies just got like obsessed with guitar, and then we had like a little group of guys that we just all started like together, and we started getting into bands and guitar players, and we just got hooked. We got the bug, and we wanted to do that. And it was like, it was just became an obsession after that. I just, because it was so natural. Like one of my older sisters played guitar, and my parents would have to, nag on her to practice. But for me, it was just like, I picked up a guitar. I was just like, that's all I want to do.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me to practice, Mom. I love this,
You're carrying around the guitar everywhere you go.
Oh, yeah. I just got an acoustic, and I was in the room playing, and she's like, my mom would never have to tell me to practice ever.
Did you use your sister's guitar? Did you get your own? Or
I got like a little cheapy crap one from a neighbor, just to see if I even liked it, and I just took to it right away, and that was it. It was over. Like I was just like, I went from being a jock to a rocker.
So you've been playing guitar since around 12, 13 in that range?
14, I picked it up, okay. And then my dad went big and got me electric. Like, I don't know, probably a year later, he got me a Strat.
No shit, like a real Fender Strat?
Authentic Strat, and all my friends were blown away. They're like, "No way!" I go, "No, it's a real Fender Strat. Look at the headstock; it's real." And he just brought it home one day, and
was it an American-made Strat or was it a Mexican? No
it was
shit,
American-made Fender, 1973.
Your old man's cool as hell.
It was like a Richie Blackmore, natural with black pickguard.
Okay, yeah. Oh man.
And I mean, I was like, I would have picked out probably something different, but he just brought it home one day because he had an office next to Nadine's, a guitar shop in Hollywood.
Okay.
And he would go in there and talk to the guy. And the guy goes, "Here, I got a guitar for your son." And my dad just picked it up. I was like, whoa.
That's super badass, man.
So that was it.
I remember my first acoustic. Well, you can see that's my 89 Fender Ovation thin body cutaway, man. That's like the guitar that's been around longest because I've gone through Explorers and freaking Strats and all kind of other stuff. And all my guitars are in another room. I got a Paul Reed Smith, and I'm a Paul Reed Smith guy.
Cool.
Yeah. But my first was a Stella acoustic when I was 8, and I would just walk around with it pretending I was in Elton John or
Yeah.
whatever 45 I was playing. And then when Kiss came along, I lived in Houston, Texas from 76 to 80. And that's when I got into Kiss, like right before I left for Kiss Live. I used to, for the neighborhood girls, we lived on a cul-de-sac, which, you drive down, we were on the end unit, right? And I would climb up on the roof because they were all flat ranchers down there. And I'd climb up on the roof. I'd blast my Kiss records like Love Gun out when my mom was at work. I'd climb up on the roof and I'd pretend I was Paul Stanley up on the roof.
There you go.
Till the neighbors ratted me out to my mom, and that was kind of the end of that shit. Yeah, man. I mean, like to get a Strat at what, 14, 15?
Yeah, it was pretty my friends were blown away. And then I saw like Song Remains the Same, the Zeppelin movie, and Jimmy Page was it for me. And I remember coming home that night after watching that and taking my guitar strap and lowering it down as low as it could possibly go. Because Jimmy Page plays so low and it was so
down
cool.
by his knees.
I'm like, I had that strap, but he was, he played Les Pauls, and I'm like, how does he look so cool? Oh, he wears his strap so low. So I never forget that night. I was up until 2 a.m. trying to play my guitar on my knees. It was like
with your arms hanging way down.
It was so hard, but I'm like, I think I look cool. I just got to figure this out. Yeah, Page was a big influence at a young age.
Do you play any other instruments? I mean, clearly you probably play bass, and I would imagine you kind of plunk around on keys or something. Or
I could probably pretty much play everything. I can play drums. I can play keys a little bit. I can fake it, but I don't really do any recordings besides my guitar because I know so many great cats that can
get better players.
Even bass. I could play bass, but I'd rather get a guy that thinks like a bass player 100%. And so I just stick to guitars and use that as my main instrument to, formulate songs and build, sounds and do my thing.
So when did you know this is what I want to do? I want to be a professional musician.
I think my first major concert ever was Van Halen. And after I went and saw them, I think they were on the Diver Down tour, one of those early tours, and it just blew my mind. And I just watched Eddie Van Halen. I'm like live because my parents wouldn't really let me get out to concerts, and I saw that. And I go, that's what I want to do. That's it. I'm just going to be that guy. I go whatever it takes, and my path was set on that, and I was just driven to.
So we're talking early 80s, 82,
yeah, like 80. Well,
81.
It was like 9th grade, 10th grade. It was probably 8. What would I say? Like 80. Yeah, 81, 82.
Yeah,
there.
And I missed out on the DLR era. I only got to see him on 5150, which is, it's still Eddie, but it was, and Alex, and Michael, but it was like, I don't know. Don't get me wrong. Sammy's a great guy, great singer, but I just never dug that era. And it's hard to, I talk to people, you and friends and stuff that have seen DLR with him or them with DLR. It's like a different animal. It was a completely different animal.
Yeah, it was mind blowing, and just the grooves and the funk and the vibe of the band. And I mean, it was the first concert I ever went to. It was just like blew my mind. I think I was like 15 or 16, but and from there I was just like sold on it, and that's what I was going to do. And then it progressed into I was came from LA, Hollywood. It was right down the street from me. So
were your parents very supportive of that idea, or did they want you to do the college?
No, they weren't too supportive. They were, but they were just kind of like, as I got more and more obsessed with it, they were kind of like, well, you need a plan B. If you got to need a plan B. You got to go to college. You got to do this. You can't rely on that. And I'm like, no, this is what I'm going to do, but I'll do it for you guys. I'll go to junior college. I got a degree, and
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
So anyways, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't do what you did because I didn't go down that route, but I went to the college thing, always kind of secretly wanting to be a rock star. But it's hard to be a rock star in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It's just the atmosphere or the environment isn't conducive to it, and I got hooked up. Oh, we got the porn bots. Hang on one sec here. Always nice when the porn bots show up. There we go. Okay, so we already did the first concert thing, and I was going to ask what your first metal concert was, but yeah, Van Halen kind of works there. Is any other like what was your first like what really heavy
Well,
band?
we me and my clan of buddies, we started like hitting the Sunset Strip when we were in 10th, 11th grade, and once we got our driver's license, we'd go to Hollywood. We were about 30 minutes away from Hollywood in the San
Okay,
Fernando Valley.
where
So
are you at?
in Woodland Hills in the San
Woodland
Fernando
Hills. Got
Valley.
it.
So it's
Yep,
literally
yep.
like 30 minutes from Hollywood. So we started going and seeing all the bands, like, and these bands were just coming up, like Quiet Riot back when they first got it going, and like Wasp and all these bands. And
Ah,
I mean, and then by the time I was like, I want to say like 11th, 12th grade, I had a metal band together called Crude Witch, and
I love that name. I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
we started gigging out, and we started getting gigs opening up at the Troubadour for Wasp, for Steeler, for all the big bands. Rat. We were like these young kids, like still in high school.
Dude, that's killer.
Yeah, and like our drummer was like 15, and we were like this Maiden ripoff. We loved Iron Maiden,
Okay.
So we were big into the metal scene, like
Sure.
bands like there were so many.
Priest.
Oh, Priest. Yeah, we love Priest. So,
Right.
so we were doing this metal band thing. It was a 5-piece band, and we were doing really well. It had this raw punk kind of metal, like the first Maiden album we loved, like that vibe, Paul
Diano.
yeah, Paul Diano era. And we were just picking up all these gigs, and it was like, wow, this is happening. I'm telling my dad, I'm like, I'm playing the Troubadour. Like, he's like, I'm like, 17 years old. And
Are
so
you even legally allowed to be in there? Or are they selling?
there was like, I think there was like underage shows, but
Okay.
and then there was this place called the Country Club, which was in Reseda, where all the bands would play.
Yep.
And I got lucky, and it was going off. And when I was in the 12th grade, we were slamming the Hollywood scene already. We were already like doing it. And
That's fucking crazy.
we saw all the bands come up, like Motley Crue. I saw some of their first shows. We'd go see them at the Whiskey, playing 2 nights. They played 2 shows in one night. We'd see the early show, and then they'd have a late night show.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'd all hang out. I mean, I was part of that whole entire culture coming up, and it was right in my backyard. And
Do you remember like Striper when they were rock?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Striper throwing out Bibles and stuff.
Yeah.
I saw I was around through all those bands coming up, except
Well, I want to get to that. So hold that thought for just one sec, real quick, before we get into that, because I do want to do a little LA Strip thing. What guitarists, musicians, artists really affected and influenced you as a young player? Sounds like Eddie was definitely there.
Michael Schenker was a huge influence. Yeah. He was like my god, as a kid. I'd have like posters of him framed in my bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
So Schenker was a big influence to me. I liked Jimmy Page a lot. I liked Richie Blackmore a lot. Of course, Eddie Van Halen. Randy Rhoads was a big influence. He came out of nowhere and was
right.
Did
you see him with Quiet Riot? I guess you did.
I just missed. Some of my buddies went and they caught him when he was with Quiet Riot, but I was invited to one of the shows, but I wasn't available. I couldn't go or something, and I could have saw him with Quiet Riot, but I was like, I missed it. But and then those were my early influences, like as a teenager, just starting guitar, and I liked a lot of players, but those are the main ones. Probably Jimmy Page, Eddie Van Halen, Schenker, Blackmore. So many. I'm probably missing a bunch of them.
Do you remember seeing I think they were called The Boys. Was that what they were called with George Lynch?
Yeah. I never saw George's earlier bands.
Okay.
I only saw him. Yeah, but he had a couple bands that were playing the circuit, but I would see him like in Bam magazine, like being advertised, but I didn't know who George Lynch was until Dawkins.
Was it Steeler that?
Steeler? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we opened for Steeler before Yngwie was even in the band. And
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. And then Yngwie flew out here and joined Steeler, and we opened up for them, like probably one of Yngwie's first shows ever was Steeler.
That's so wicked.
We hooked up with this guy, like some fan that knew Yngwie personally and invited us over. And we were just like, he thought we were. So we go to this guy's house. We're in the backyard. And he goes, I got a special surprise for you guys. This guy was some fan guy. I don't know. My buddy met him. And he goes, I've got Yngwie Malmsteen here. He's going to come talk to you guys. So Yngwie comes out of like the backyard, like, and he thought we were interviewing him. We were like high school kids. We're just like, oh my God, Yngwie Malmsteen, what's up?
What's up?
He's like acting like he's being interviewed.
Right.
He's playing his strat. He's talking about it. And he's acting like we're literally like some journalist or something. And we're like,
this is you as Crude Witch at this point?
We were in Crude Witch at the time,
okay.
Yeah. But we met this guy that, like knew Yngwie, and he friended us, and we went over to his house, and Yngwie came over.
Dude, that's fucking rich right there.
He goes, I've got a secret. He was like, I've got a secret. I'm playing with this new singer. And we're like, who? You got to tell us. And he was like top secret about it. He goes, it's Graham Bonham.
Graham Bonham for Alcatraz.
So he just had like secretly got with Graham Bonham, and they're putting Alcatraz together. So that was
yeah.
So anyways, that was pretty cool.
That's crazy, dude. That's fucking.
He played all his strats. He came out of nowhere too. Like he was just
for real. So I was gonna say Crude Witch, Mickey Knight. Was Mickey Knight your first band or Crude Witch?
No, Crude Witch was first, and then from that we went through a period of like losing a singer, and it took about 2.5, 3 years till we finally got it back together again, and we formed Mickey Knight.
And then there was a city split. So these were early bands,
right?
And you said that Crude Witch was kind of a maiden sort of thing. Were the other two in that vein, sort of?
No, so Mickey Knight was more like we were kind of like straight up like doing the kind of Rat, Black and Blue kind of real, super like 80s kind of sounding bands that were coming out. Not so metal, a little bit more glammy-ish,
right?
And we were doing really well. We were opening up for Poison. We were, playing to 200, 300 people at clubs, opening up, and we were doing really well with that band. And then that went south, and basically I quit that band, even though it was my dad's name, Mickey Knight.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't name him that. They picked that name. So
oh, shit.
The guys in the band did.
And this is after. But this is after Rat was Mickey Rat, so there wasn't any of that. Yeah.
No, it wasn't no comparison.
Yeah.
Comparison, those guys already came up to LA and formed Rat. They dropped Mickey Rat, I think, back in San Diego. I don't know.
Yeah, way back. That's true. Yeah. That's true. So you did a fair amount of gigs with Crude and with Mickey and with City Slick, and then were you able to do any recording with that or any of those bands?
Nothing was ever. We did some demos. A couple demos that never got released. I think there's a Mickey Knight actual video out with one of the songs we did. It was just a really weird band, it was real high schooly and a lot of drama, a lot of typical band crap going on with those guys, and I just it wasn't working out with me, and I formed the band. I formed Crude Witch too, and I basically reincarnated this with these guys, and it just didn't work out. And so I quit that band, and then I spent about 9 months trying to work with another group of guys. It didn't work out. And then bumped into Stephen Ray and Kyle coming out of the Rainbow one night. And I was with my drummer, and we were like, let's put a band together. So we formed City Slick. And then City Slick lasted about a year or so. It didn't go too far. More band drama.
Mainly just doing the LA strip thing.
Yeah, we sold out like the Troubadour. It was going pretty well, but then there was just a bunch of band drama and people getting kicked out and recarnations, and then it broke down to 4 guys, and eventually like it snapped, and that was it, and then Bang Tango. And here we are.
Here we are. We're almost there. I just had let me see if there was one more question there. Well, okay, so talking about the LA scene there's so many bands that were happening. There were the ones that were kind of like the A tier and maybe the B tier. Was it really difficult to get noticed, or were there record label people cruising the clubs all the time at that point?
Are you talking about my Bang Tango era, or which part of my career are you talking about?
Let me see. Hang on here. I'm trying to read my question here and how I phrased it. Even just prior to Bang Tango, when you're doing these other bands, was there a sense that this is going to go somewhere for sure? Was there always sort of a sense of, this might happen, it might not happen? And then was there a lot of interest, i.e., were these record companies descended on the strip and just constantly
No, it wasn't like that.
Okay.
It was more about, like, back then it was more about your fan base and how many people you could draw and sell out by promoting with flyers and whatever you could.
So that shit that we heard about stickering over or stamping stuff over somebody else's flyer is true?
Flooded with flyers. The whole Sunset Strip was flooded with flyers. And it was all about, for most of these bands, creating like a fan base with enough people and enough interest to the point where a label has to pay attention to it, even if it's crap, you know, even if the guy can't sing or the songs aren't great, but it, you know, maybe they look great, but they're packing like the Troubadour and the Whiskey and you know, the Roxy and those type of places, because they've worked really hard at it. I mean, these bands worked really hard at it, and you know, we kind of did that too, but with Bang Tango, we took a whole different approach. It was more of I want to say like a backdoor method, where we got a entertainment lawyer that was connected to like people in the industry.
Okay.
And basically what we would do is he would just say at the drop of a hat, I want you to go play the Club Lingerie tonight. I got blah, blah, blah from Warner Brothers coming down. And he'd grab these people, like, you know, having cocktails, say, I'm going to take you down and see Bang Tango. This band's like happening. And we get a call in the middle of the day at our day jobs.
Yeah.
Playing the Club Lingerie to Geffen Records. We'd be like, what the hell?
What the fuck?
Yeah. So
no pressure there, right?
We didn't pay to play. There was all that going on.
I was going to ask you about that. What was can you lay that out a little bit? Was that really the real deal? Like that was happening?
So you had to pre-sell tickets. You get the gig and they say you have to sell 150 tickets at $25 each.
Okay.
And you know, you're probably not going to make any money back. The club makes all the money. You just basically, what they do, they still do it. You know, the Whiskey does it still. They basically pay the headliners with the bands that pre-sell.
Okay.
The bands that pre-sell get the exposure.
Right.
Which is, whatever.
Sure.
But basically, they take all the money the bands pre-sell and they pay the headliners.
Okay.
What goes on now at the Whiskey? That's why there's 5 bands that play before the headliners. The Whiskey.
Yeah, and if you're lucky, maybe 20 people come out to see you. If you unless you have a big fan base, they may show up early. But if you got 5 bands, you're talking, you know, shit. You may not get really.
Let's say each band has to pay 50. They have to sell 50 tickets, right? So each band sells 50 tickets. There's 5 bands. That club just made the money off of those bands to pay the headliner $3,000 or whatever their guarantee is.
Right.
And then they just clean up on the bars, you know, on the
bars where they're making all their money. Yeah.
So it's just a total racket. And we refused to do it. The funny thing, the first Bang Tango show we ever did with this promoter, her name was Woe Nelly. We opened up for Warren, and I knew the guys in Warren. We got in and we opened up our very first Bang Tango show. And you know, we were supposed to sell like 150 tickets, and we sold like maybe 10 or something. And after the gig, she's like, well, where's the money? We need the money from your pre-sales and all that, and from the ticket sales. And we're like, here's $50. And, you know, it was probably like $500 we were supposed to give her in sales. And she goes, well, we're going to keep your equipment until you pay the balance.
Are you fucking kidding me, dude?
That's how it went. And we're like, no way, fuck you. And we grabbed our equipment, we bailed out, and we never pre-sold ever again. We're like, no way. We would just do these like shows, like, you know, Ruben Blue. He had this thing he do, Ruben Blues jams. We get to play 3 songs. We go to Coconut Teas where we play like, you know, a half hour set. We just, you know, people started liking us and kind of the underground kind of clubs, not so mainstream clubs. We didn't want to do those big blowout whiskey shows, you know. Mm-hmm. We just did these like little kind of divey bar spots, and we get industry to come down and see us. And in, you know, 9 months, we had interest. You know, people.
They were just like showcases, basically, right?
Yeah, they were just like mini showcases. Yeah, we play like 3 or 4 songs. We play like a half-hour set somewhere, or someone would say you can open up for us at 8:00, and we get people down there. And then we had this like little core following of maybe 20, 30 people. That was it. It wasn't, I remember the last show we played at the Whiskey before we got our record, there was 20 people there.
Wow, dude, this is so cool to hear this, because you read the magazine articles from back in the day, you think there's like people are clamoring at the door.
No, there was 20 people there. We get a record deal, we put out Someone Like You video, we start our tour for Psycho Cafe, we go to play the Whiskey, 2-mile line down the street of people to see us, be sold out, like just boom.
And you're probably like, what the fuck?
Yeah, we were like, we just played here 6 months ago and there was 20 people here. But that's how it worked for us. Didn't work that way with everybody though. We got really lucky.
Just real quick and we'll finish up. We'll get into Bang Tango here. Next question. Was there a really healthy rivalry between the bands at the time? I mean, we talked about posterizing other people's, like putting your poster or your flyer over somebody else's flyer, but were there any bands that you guys were really tight with during that period of time too?
Well, during Bang Tango, there was this kind of thing going on where all these bands were claiming Hollywood. We're a Hollywood band. We're from Hollywood, and they all acted like they were from Hollywood.
Right. But none of them were.
And they would give us shit because we were from the Valley. Oh, you're a Valley band, right? And we'd get into beefs with these bands and we'd be like, Hollywood, really? We're born and raised in LA. Well, at least two of us were.
Right.
And we're like, where are you from? Nebraska? You all
Pennsylvania?
You all came out here from the Midwest or all over the rest of the country to be big rock stars and claim Hollywood, and you're a Hollywood band, but you're giving us, because we're from the Valley, a hard time about it.
Right.
So we had problems with that, and we'd be like, we're actually from LA. You're not. So
who else is from
me and Kyle Stevens were born and raised in LA.
Okay, you and Kyle, and then Joe was from San Diego, right?
Joe and Tig are from San Diego, and Kyle is from he's from New Jersey originally.
He's from Jersey. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like we talked backstage about the two bands that I know, guys that came from this city. Brunette, the two brothers went out, and the guys from Swingin' Thing, the two brothers went out from there. And so I can't see those guys being dicks about it, but who knows? I wasn't out there.
No, it was more these guys that were like trying to be Guns N' Roses, these like kind of when that GNR thing started happening with LA Guns and Faster and all those bands. That's when that attitude started kicking up more with the we're from Hollywood, we're a Hollywood band, you guys are from the Valley, and that stuff was going on. So there was a little competition with that. Also, we like disattached ourselves from some of the kind of more glammier hair bands. Like we didn't want to be tied in with bands like Poison and some of those bands. I don't want to drop now. I don't want to put in.
No, I know, I got you.
But like bands that were a little bit more glammy and more Gazzari style bands, more bands.
Flowery.
You just like that whole like razzle dazzle bands. We were more down and dirty, and we had more of a European kind of style to us, and we were into the Cult and some of those darker kind of bands. And we also love like the Chili Peppers and Jane's Addiction and a lot of those like alternative bands.
I think you guys have way more of an alternative edge with a little bit of a bluesier Cult sort of vibe.
Yeah, that's exactly. You nailed it. That's
by far.
And then we love like old Aerosmith and Zeppelin and the funky.
You guys do not sound like Poison at all, or
no. And so we did not fit in that box with those bands. They were just like, oh, you guys are like, they knew we were badass because we had attitude. We were like we were a real street raw rock and roll band. But so we were kind of in a rock and a hard place because we couldn't really find any kind of real like home for us with a scene because plus I don't know. It just was a real tough time for us because, people looked at us in different ways. People thought we were a hair glam band and we'd hate that. We're like, we're not a glam band, but then there's a part of us that some of the guys did look kind of glammy, I mean, I could see how they would think of it as a glam band, but other guys didn't. So it was like this mixed kind of punk rock, all this weird kind of combination of the band that made the sound. So it was weird. It was different. We were definitely different.
I mean, Psycho Cafe bears nothing in resemblance to look what the cat dragged in, except maybe the little bit of the makeup. That might be, but it wasn't like you guys were like decking yourself out in total makeup, like Tough or something like that. You know what I mean?
No, we weren't. We weren't even. You know, a couple of the guys were a little bit more into that look in the band, but most of us weren't. You know, I'm not going to say who was.
I get where you're
Who
going with
was
that.
it, but sometimes I'd be kind of like, well, okay, you know that. You know, I don't.
That's what you want to do.
That's what you want to do, exactly.
All right. So, how did Bang Tango come together? You and Kyle put it together.
So basically, what happened was the City Six thing kind of fell apart, and Kyle came to me and said, "I'm leaving the band, City Slick," and he goes, "You should stay with the singer, Stephen Ray. It was a great, super talented guy, great singer." And I said, "Well, you know what? Let me think about it." I go, you know what? I think I want to put a new band together. Why don't we just stick together? I want to get another guitar player. We'll keep our drummer, and we'll look for a singer, and we'll form a new band. So I kind of went with that, and that's how it started. And we contacted Amir from Rough Cut, and long story goes, you know, he told me about Joe Lestay in San Diego. Joe came up, tried out. We liked him, and you know, that was the birth of Bang Tango.
And Joe was very different from a lot of the singers of that era. He was not a, the histrionic high vocal sort of thing. He was much more Ian Astbury a little bit, with a little bit more of a snarl kind of thing.
Yeah, he was a bit, you know, like Billy Idol a lot. You
Yeah.
know, like Elvis. He came up here, and he was just like, he just had a vibe about him. He looked cool when he sang. I mean, he wasn't much of a singer at the time. You know, he was just trying to find his voice, and he had this low end to his vocals that, you know, lower vocal that sounded pretty cool, and he looked cool. He had like a Steven Tyler thing about him that I liked, because
There you go, Steven Tyler.
I'm like a big Joe Perry fan, and I loved Aerosmith, and I kind of wanted the band to go in that direction.
Right.
And I thought, this guy's great, you know, let's work with him. And he came out and kicked ass. His first show, he was just like, you know, on the cover of Rock City News. Like they said.
Did he bring Tig along, or had you already had
Tig came later? So basically what happened is we got rid of Brett Greenberg, the original drummer. He didn't work out, and so we ended up firing him, and we tried out like 3 or 4 guys, and then Joe goes, my buddy Tig, and we knew Tig because he'd hang out with us all the time. So Tig tried out, and he got the gig, and yeah, that was it.
And all those years later, he's still there with you.
Yeah. Little did I know he'd be like my best friend for life.
That's awesome, man.
He's been playing since.
So let's see here. Any specific memories about how you guys got signed and putting that first album together? Then, when getting signed, and then what's up?
Of course, I remember the whole thing. Yeah, we played
a little history on that.
We played this place called Guitarist.
Yep, know it.
So we were like shopping around. Labels were kind of offering us demo deals, which is they give you $3,000, you go in the studio, and if they like it, they sign you. If they don't, you're done.
Right.
We got a couple of those, but we turned them down, and we basically we did this show with 10 bands. Each band played 3 songs, and this A&R guy came out from New York, Steve Sinclair, Mechanic Records. He was a subsidiary of MCA. Yep. He came out to shop. He was looking at like the headliner bands. I don't even know exactly what band he was looking at. It might have been Tough or one of those bands. And we were like the second band, and he saw us, and he next day offered us a deal. So
he saw you play though, right?
Yeah. So he came to that show with the 10 bands looking at one of these other bands. He came out, flew out to see another band. I don't know the exact band, but after he saw us the next day, he offered us a record deal, and it wasn't the greatest. It was a small deal, but at that time, we're just like, boom, let's take it. Let's go.
Yeah, this is a major label. MCA is a major label.
Yeah.
I know Mechanics.
It was called Mechanics Record. It was off of. It was
an imprint. Yeah, I think Voivod was on that.
Yeah.
Right. So he signs you. You get an advance, I guess, to make a record, right?
Basically, we we were living on $200 a week each guy. We're living off McDonald's and fried rice. and
Right.
and like, I don't know, what did we do? We
What
did
year is this? 86, 7?
88. No,
88.
80. I want to say 80. We signed in 89, I think. So basically, they flew us to Austin, Texas, to make Psycho Cafe. We found a producer, Howard Benson.
Mhm.
He was getting his feet wet in the business too. He had done a couple bands, but we got with him. He wanted to fly us out of town. He flew us to Austin, Texas, and he did pre-production in LA. We flew there and did Psycho Cafe, and we were there for a month and came back and mixed it at Sunset Sound. And
was it cheaper to do it down there? Is that the reason, or was there a reason?
Get us out of LA because we were kind of reckless. We were
so the partying and shit.
Yeah,
like
we were
that?
kind of wild. The band was kind of, he just wanted us to focus.
Right.
So we got one guy drove a van. I think Tig even went with the one of our techs and drove across country to Texas, and we flew. They put us up in some I don't know, like a dorm or something, and we lived there, and we just we lived the record for 30 days, and
you had all the songs before you went in, or no?
We had them all done. We did pre-production in LA before we flew out there. It was all ready to go, and they were great songs. The record came out really cool, but I think that it was pretty much dialed in what we wanted to record. And
you say pre-production. Help some of the people that may not know what that is. What does that entail for you guys?
Well, pre-production is basically getting into like a rehearsal studio and taking the songs and kind of like hashing them out, arranging them, just cleaning them up, editing them, cutting out parts, adding parts, maybe tightening up the grooves, getting the tempos. It's just like really tightening up the songs before you go into a recording studio and record, so you don't waste all that time working that stuff out in a paid rehearsal or a recording studio.
Because back there, you're talking about 2-inch tape, you're talking analog,
right.
You're not talking digital where you can cut and paste shit, and you got to know those songs.
You got to hit it. Yeah. You get a couple shots at it, but you don't want to like spend too much time. Like,
do you remember what you spent on the record? Do you have any idea what you spent on the record?
Oh, geez, I don't know. I don't know what the cost of Psycho Cafe was. I would say, I think we got a $60,000 deal, which was small back then, and I don't know how much of it went into any of it. It was the business of Bang Tango was just a mystery. We had so many people working for us, and I think all I know is we made like $200 a week, which was nothing.
Yeah.
And
did you get new gear out of it at all, though, or
a little bit of stuff? We had a little equipment budget, but it wasn't like big endorsements. We weren't a band like these bands were coming. Some of these bands were getting like huge endorsements from companies. We weren't one of those bands. We were still using raggedy old Marshall cabs and stuff we collected, and there was a little bit of money to like fix the guitars up and get them tight, and
what guitars are you using? Do you remember?
I actually had the Orange Jackson, the one I used on.
You still have that?
That one I used on Psycho Cafe a lot, and I think I had another Charvel I had gotten, and maybe one other guitar, but there was, and like I had a Marshall that I'd used forever, and a couple cabs, and it was just like bare bones, the stuff we were playing in the clubs in Hollywood. That's all we had. They just gave us money to kind of fix stuff up a little bit.
Right.
It wasn't like, here, go out and buy yourself a new rig. It wasn't.
Oh, geez.
And we had no guitar endorsements or anything. We were just upcoming. Nobody knew who the hell we were.
You got Floyd's on those? You got a Floyd on that one? Yeah. Like a legit Floyd, right?
Yeah, I had Floyd's on all the Jackson and the Charvel at the time. But then things got better. I got more guitars.
Of course, yeah. What was it like? What was it like at the time? Like, did you know you had a hit song? Did they say, "Oh, we think this is going to be a hit," or did it kind of happen suddenly? You get that call. I was talking to you know who Jason Beeler is with Saigon Kick.
Yeah.
Okay, I was talking to Jason about a week and a half ago or whatever, and they were down shooting the video for Hostile Youth in Mexico from the Lizard, and they get a call from their A&R guy, and they're like, "Hey, you guys got to get home. We got a massive hit here with Love Is on the Way." Their power ballad that Jason claims killed hair metal. He might be right about that, actually. So, But how did you guys find out? How did you know that something's going on here? Because that's probably how I personally found out about BT, because it was seeing someone like you video on Headbangers Ball, or maybe 100. It was probably Headbangers.
Yeah, I think the video helped a lot with that. And
Mm-hmm.
we loved all the songs. We didn't know which one to pick, but someone like you was obviously a pretty straightforward hook, and we got this director, Mark Stein was his name. I think he had done some Billy Idol videos. He hopped on board to do the video, and I think the video just sparked everything, because once that video came out, like MTV picked it up right away, and we started seeing it like every day on rotation, and that's what got us going. Because once that video came out, we went on tour, and we were like selling out clubs across the country just on our own.
You're just on your own. You're not opening for anyone. Okay.
Just went out, like we were just like boom overnight. That video just launched this,
right?
And the song was getting played all over the place, and it's weird, because our manager at the time said MCA pulled the plug too early on that. They should have worked that song longer, because it had more life in it, and probably would have really kicked us off to the point where we would have gone more platinum, bigger sales, and the follow-up CD single would have done better. But they pulled the plug on.
What was the follow-up? Was it?
We did Breaking Up a Heart of Stone.
Breaking Up a Heart of Stone.
Which was pretty much like the same video, but black and white. We had our own separate stages, which was really, really weak. I think we wanted to do like something else. I think we wanted to do like something heavy, like Attack of Life or something. But the label wanted to do that. That was their follow-up, ballad from Bang Tango, I guess.
Right.
Oh, I thought it was a good song, but
and they picked that. The label pulled that.
Yeah, they picked that, and they used the same director for the video and did the same kind of vibe on the video. I don't know if you've seen it, but
yeah, way back when. I mean, it's not as memorable as
no, but it was like a weaker version of Someone Like You.
I mean, it had a couple things going for it. It had that fucking opening killer intro riff, the delay harmonics, I fucking love that. One of my favorite riffs of that.
Nice, thanks.
I'm assuming you wrote that.
Yeah.
Okay, so but it also had the fluorescent lighting shit that was going on that was trippy and sort of, it's like, I've never done acid, but I'm like thinking, oh, this would be really cool on acid. Probably watched it stoned a couple of times back in the day, I'm sure. Yeah. But yeah, it was that, and then it was just a unique vibe to Joe's voice that was very different from the normal LA shit that was coming out. Which, I mean, there's a lot of good bands, but it wasn't White Lion, and I love White Lion, but much weaker sort of sound, you know what I mean?
It was completely different from all those bands.
It really was.
There's nobody that really sounded or looked like that, I don't think, at the time.
No, I agree.
We were
like
going
you said, it was very cult-like, and it reminded me of
we like Billy Idol a lot. We kind of like that kind of like it just had, I thought it was just different from most of those bands. We weren't like, Danger or Warren or any of those bands. It was just
exactly.
It was definitely different. And I think that's what grabbed people's interest, because they're like, whoa, well, who are these guys? And
you know what? Saying Billy Idol, that really kicked it. That opening riff is very much a Steve Stevens like riff, dude, isn't it?
Yeah.
It totally is.
I'll cop to it.
I'm like,
I was going for that.
Absolutely. And nothing wrong with that, man, because Steve is a fucking monster, dude.
You know what's a funny story is that Orange Jackson I have?
Yeah.
Some guy worked at Jackson. He had quit the job, and he had a bunch of Jacksons. We found this guy, my buddy. That Orange Jackson was actually made for Steve Stevens.
Oh, come on, man. Seriously?
Swear to God.
That's insane.
He didn't like it or something, and he rejected it, and this guy got hold of it, and he sold it to me for like, I don't know, $200, $300. And that became the Someone Like You guitar,
And that's that super fluorescent orange that
was right over there.
I'll grab it real quick. I want to see it, man. Can I see it?
Yeah.
Oh, damn, there it is. I'm gonna blow you up here a sec. Hang on.
That's the one right there.
Put that up there for all the cats to see. Look at that. What do you got in pickups wise in there? You got the Marzios, or what do you got?
No, these are actual the Jackson pickups.
The Jacksons, okay.
Yeah, the J90, I think, is what's in here.
So what year is that? Like 88, 89?
No, that's probably like 86 or 7. It's like a dinky strap model.
Body style, right.
But like Steve Stevens had us custom made with these weird toggle switches. They're weird because they're like on off for each pickup. Like who would ever change that up? But and then a one knob and the volume, and then the Floyd, you know.
Dude, that's killer.
Yeah.
That's killer. I mean, that's like a guitar you hand down to your children if you have them, right? You don't want that to go anywhere.
And it was hung in their bedroom for 10 years.
Oh, really?
I hung it up in there. They had no idea what it was. They just thought it looked cool.
Oh, that's super cool, dude.
Yeah.
Go ahead, throw it back there. So the touring cycle, you said basically was you went out on your own initially. Did you because I'm trying to remember, man. I'm like, 88, 89, I'm 21, 22, well, 21 and 87. So when you were out for that in 89, I'm 23, in that range, going to a lot of shows in Philly, Baltimore. I don't ever remember you guys coming around, one. And two, did you open for anybody for Psycho? Did you get any on any tours?
Well, the first tour we went out on our own, did clubs. And then we picked up and we started playing with our first tour with another band was Bullet Boys.
Okay. Smooth up in you.
Yeah, we started playing theaters and stuff with them, opening for them. Those were super fun tour. We did 3 weeks, went to Canada, and then I think we jumped around and did some stuff with, I don't know, Brittany Fox we played with.
Oh God. Girls School, was that yeah, Girls School, I think, was the tune from them. They were local, they were a Philly band, I believe.
I know. We played out there with them, I think.
Yeah.
And then we played then we did some weird tour with Bad English, which was Neil Sean and
Jonathan Cain.
Jonathan Cain and John Waite. So we did like a Europe, we did like a whole Canadian thing with them. And then we did, who else did we play with? We had some
did you get overseas?
I don't think we went. Well, we went over to London, to the UK, and did a couple shows, but we didn't really hit that till later. I think we didn't go tour over there till after the next record came out.
Next record, okay.
But on Psycho Cafe, we just did the States. I think we did it like the States like 8 times or something.
Holy shit! Wow. And
we never got an arena tour with. Oh, we did some Cheap Trick dates too in a theater.
Was that for dancing though? I thought that was
Dance Uncles, I think. Yeah.
What and just, not to get into like the dirt or anything like that, but like you guys are 23, 24, 25 in that range. I mean, how much insane partying is going on these as you're out there? Is it pretty, or are you guys keeping it cool?
No, we were pretty much a pack of dogs ripping it up every night. We would do our shows and then we'd just go off, we'd celebrate, we keep it together all the time. And then, after the gigs, we just like throw a giant party in the hotels and, it's typical stuff at 23 years old. It would be like on, and then we'd manage to get it together and travel to the next town and start all over again.
Through the day. And
what's that?
A weird thing there. I just blanked out. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Okay. We dipped out there for a second there. I don't know. It's in here, so my internet acts flaky sometimes.
There you go. You're back.
Okay. We good?
Yeah.
Okay. So did the success of the single on the first album open up the checkbook for the second album then, Dancing on Coals in 91?
Well, we had a record deal, so we had a guarantee for another record. It wasn't like from the success, but they did like get pretty. Yeah, they kind of did open up the budget a little bit where we could do whatever we wanted because they thought the next record could do better for us. So, we really went big on the second record, Dancing on Coals. Spent a lot of money.
Where did you record this one at?
So Dancing on Coals was all over the place. We went to New York. We went to West Orange, New Jersey, and did all the basic tracks there. Then we flew back to LA and did more tracks in LA. But mainly we did it in Jersey with this producer, John Jansen, that wanted to fly us out there because he lived there. And he had
was that a record company decision for Jansen, or did you guys know of him? Because I never heard of him before.
He had done Cinderella and Faster Pussycat.
Okay, Night Songs.
No, not Night Songs. He did
second
something, the blues one. Really good record. really long.
Long Cold Winter.
No, it was after Long Cold Winter. It was like further. It was one that wasn't so heavy. It was like more blue, like Heartbreak Station or something.
Heartbreak Station. That's it. Yeah,
that's the one he did.
Yeah,
I love it.
And they're. I mean, Tom Kiefer's a Philly dude. So
I know he's great. So anyways, we were shopping a producer at the time. We were going to use Howard Benson again, but it started off rough. He didn't think we had the songs, and we thought we did. And anyways, it went south. So we ended up getting looking for another guy, and we found Jansen. It took him forever to get on board. So they sent me and Joe out to New Jersey when he was producing Cinderella to go like kind of schmooze him and basically like say, "Come on, man, just shit or get off the path," And he goes. And finally he goes, "Okay, I'll come out." So we ended up writing 45 songs for Dancing on Coals. He just, he didn't like them. He didn't think they were good enough. And he goes, "Keep writing more." So we kept, we spent like a whole summer every day writing. And we narrowed it down to 14 or whatever. And we did the record with him.
And it's a different record. It's a lot different, I feel, than Psycho. It's a lot more varied. There's a lot of soul in it. There's a little bit more funk involved in some of it. I mean, you have some of like Soul to Soul is almost like sort of a funk track, sort of kind of almost like a Peppers sort of track with a little bit more heaviness. And then you had horns on it. Midnight Struck is this big long ballad that's pretty, it's a good album. I don't think I liked it as much though. And I can't explain why.
Well, it's a whole different animal. It was different production, different sounds, different mixes, different producer. We were trying to open up and do some big orchestration, trying to be the Rolling Stones, put strings and background singers and horns and all this stuff, because we're like, "Ooh, we can do whatever we want. We got an open budget. Let's do this. Let's do that." Me and Joe wanted to be the Rolling Stones and just make it even to this big kind of So we were both like kind of like listening to a lot of stuff like the Stones and Rod Stewart and bands like that at the time, and we're like, let's do that, and I think we found a producer that was from that era, like John Jansen worked with Hendrix and Clapton, and a real old school kind of 70s producer. So we just completely changed the sound in a sense. He kept the funk about it, but the edginess of it was kind of lacking, I think. I totally agree. But, I love that record, but listening back, being the two of them, it's totally different. Yeah. I think we could have like kind of made it more raw, and it would have probably appealed to
better than I remembered. And I do know, I will say, as I told you privately, I can't find my copy of Psycho Cafe. It's here. I moved in February because of COVID. Long story short, I don't have the room to display all my CDs anymore. So they're literally in 4 different closets. There's like 40 boxes of CDs because I have like 4,000 CDs in there. I couldn't find it. I just gave up. But I do know that I did get rid of dancing. Sorry, I got to admit it. I'm going to come clean. But the reason I went through sort of a purge where I started getting rid of all this stuff, I'm like, I never listened to that all. And it's now one of those, now I'm trolling eBay going, all right, if I can find it for a good price, I'm going to grab it again because it's way better than I remembered it was.
No, it's good stuff. I mean, I thought, it was different.
But I'm going to read you a funny little thing, and I want you to react to this. I found this. I can't remember where. It might have been Spin Magazine. Do you remember this?
Sure.
Okay, it says, a hair metal essential that mixes goth rock moods into urgent, horny soul metal.
Whoa.
Are we listening to the same? I'm wondering if this dude is listening to the same fucking album I was listening to.
Let's say it again.
It says a hair metal essential that mixes goth rock moods into urgent, horny soul metal.
Wow.
What the hell?
These guys, just
what is this guy hearing?
Go down there, wordsmith guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you trying to get noticed for your ways with words? It's
apparently not. I don't hear that at all. There's some very good tracks on this.
I think he's more trying to impress people with his wordplay than his actual what he's saying.
a little bit of flowery bullshit there, because that is not. I don't hear any goth rock on this album at all. Number one. Like I don't hear any typo negative on this album, and it's like, there is some horns on it. I guess that's what he meant by horny. I don't know. But it's got some soul metal, and there's some metal in it, but it's it's a little more expansive, and I definitely hear the Stones vibe way more than on the first album.
Jeez, people they constantly try to put all my music, my whole career, in these weird boxes. It's like, I hear maybe some of those descriptions are possible. I mean,
so did you write predominantly all the music, or was it a collaborative effort? Did you come in with like demos and then everybody added their own shit? Or
no, I usually create like the riffs or the basic music before I would go to rehearsals to write, and kind of bring them in, and then the band would collaborate with the stuff I bring, and Joe would write melodies around a lot of the riffs and chord progressions that I'd initially bring in. Right. That's kind of how it worked. So I did initiate most of the music, not always, but a lot of times. And then the band would, contribute to it, write their parts, change their grooves, put their parts in, add to it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it worked. There was another process where, Joe once in a while would come in with, like, he'd hear a guitar riff in his head or something, very rarely, but he'd try to get me to like play what he was humming.
He was hearing
that would happen once in a while, but mainly that's what would happen. It usually started with that. I'd spend the night before kind of coming up with some riffs or something and bring them in, check this out, guys, and Tig would like lock onto the groove, and then Kyle would come up with his parts, and Stevens would add his awesome second guitar parts, and we'd have these songs, and then Joe would come up with melodies, and that's how it kind of worked.
Did you guys share the leads, you and Stevens?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, we'd split them up. I always, we always try to make it equal. I tend to do a little bit more on most of the stuff. I do some of the vamp out stuff, like that's usually me. And on the last record, I think I did probably 70% of the leads. I think I did way more because I was more involved. He was kind of checking out at the time.
Okay.
I try to keep it where we'd split it up. We'd, give him a bar. I do, we split the solos in half. So it always gave it that kind of two guitar sound. And we, I always like to throw in some harmonies. I'd always kind of write a guitar harmony for us to do on a lot of the songs.
That's your Maiden influence coming back.
Yeah, we like the dual guitars, and I don't hear like a harmony like on someone like you. I wrote that whole thing, and that became a good dual harmony, and then we did it on a bunch of songs. Kind of.
I say Maiden, but I mean, let's be honest.
Thin Lizzy,
fucking Thin Lizzy, Wishbone Ash. I mean, they were doing that shit a long time before. But was the album pretty much a commercial flop in terms of comparison to the first album then?
No, not a flop, but it was definitely not a success. Wasn't doing what we hoped it would do, and we were getting kind of nervous.
Did they drop you, or how that was at the end of the contract?
No, we still had another record to do. Remember, Love After Death.
Well, that's right. We had the third one. Okay.
Yeah. No, they didn't drop us. We basically got another shot, and we did this weird live record in between that. And then they gave us another shot at another record.
We're talking MCA.
Yeah.
Okay. But the third album doesn't come out on MCA. Did you record it for them and they refused it, or what? Oh, okay. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, we recorded the record with MCA, and we literally spent $2 million on it. We went all over the world to record it.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we were in everywhere on that one, like 3 different studios. And basically, we go in the shop releasing it, and they dropped us. They're like, we're not going to put it out. I think they felt like they put too much money into it to really recoup. So they decided to let us go. And they said, you can take it and shop it to other labels. You're free to go. And we're like,
they let you walk with the masters on it?
Well, they basically said that we could shop it to other labels.
Okay.
If they bought them off MCA, then
okay,
that's how we get released. But we went through 2 years of trying to get it picked up with different labels and different, even small independent labels. And this company called Music for Nations in the UK picked it up and put it out in Japan and the UK, and that was pretty much it. You know, the band was already on its outs, and we had so much anticipation and for that record. We were so proud of it. It was like our best record we ever did, we thought. And
Well, I didn't hear it until the other night because it's really hard to find for a reasonable price anywhere. And
yeah,
dude, it's by far the heaviest thing that you guys do,
yeah, yeah.
and it's good. It's super riffy, and Joe sounds kind of snarly and pissed off, and I imagine that was just the sign of the times and things that were going on. How much dissension's going on in the band at this point in time?
It was just kind of getting weird. I mean, we were still like going out. You know, the whole Seattle movement has started happening.
Mm-hmm.
And we were tight with some of the guys in like Alice in Chains, and we were kind of like crossing over to like, well, we could pull that off, and we were going after this really heavy grungy edge, and it was feeling really good. We were real happy about the record, and then I don't know, like I think Kyle Stevens just quit the band. He was the first guy to go, the original guys. That was like, I don't know, probably maybe. So we lost the deal in about a year of trying to get picked up. I think he quit about in that year somewhere. So then it started getting funky, after that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's definitely the heaviest that you sounded, I think, and it's good. I need to look into it, but I started looking around for a copy of it, and it was like, whoa, okay, yeah. I don't think I'm going to be dropping $60 on a CD, but I'll keep looking. You know what I mean? Because it's definitely got some really good tracks
on it.
Well, you
hear it on YouTube. You know what it sounds
like. Yeah, that's true. But I'm dude, I'm an old school dude. I gotta have the physical.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, and it's interesting that it came out of Music for Nation because Music for Nations was like Metallica's first label and was more known to be sort of like a thrash kind of metal at that time. Well, this is what, 95, right? 94, 95?
Yeah, 94 or 95, yeah. I think it's all we could get.
So it's just
an interesting all we could get at the time. Yeah. I think that's everybody that bid. Well, I don't know. We just couldn't get picked up.
Let me ask this crazy question, Mark. And this is something, maybe you can answer it, maybe you can. I don't know. When guys talk about, I interviewed Craig LaCicero from Forbidden a while back, and he was in a band that was dealing with Rick Rubin and American Records and, just or Def America, or whatever that label is called. And they spent close to $1 million on this record, right? Which just boggles my mind when I think about that kind of money being dumped into this. And it never really did anything, really. Not really. How I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. Theoretically speaking, when you get these advances to make these albums, you're supposed to be paying that back through recoupable sales, right? How does that work out if suddenly, you said would you say 2 million?
Yeah.
Do they suddenly present you guys after you split up with a bill and say, oh, you guys owe us $2 million, or what's the deal there? Like, how's that? Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's with bands that don't make it to that point where they're like making big money.
Right.
It's all in somebody else's hands.
They just write it all off. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's just like, first of all, there's your accountant, there's your management, there's your booking agent, there's all these people that need to get paid, right? So that you've got this team of people that are all like biting off your income. The bands they don't make shit, really.
I was gonna say, you get nothing in the end.
You don't get anything. You get this minimal, per diem and weekly pay. That's what we lived off of, until we started like, moonshining and like doing side stuff on our own music to get paid,
right.
One-off gigs on our own and collect the money and run, do it on your own. And, it was just this mystery to how much money. I mean, we were selling 15,000 copies of Psycho Cafe a week.
Yeah.
At one point.
Where's all that money at?
And we were just like, what the hell? Why are we still getting $200 a week and living off, nothing?
Right.
And we knew we were getting $15,000 or 15,000 sales a week because our our accountant would tell us, or the label would tell us, and it was this giant like monopoly of the industry and these people. Like I feel just like we were kids. We weren't on top of it. We
So
didn't
they're
have,
stealing your money.
asking questions like, "Where's the money? Show us the proof of the sales. Show us this. Show us that." We weren't doing that. We were just like, "Yeah, we're all going to be rock stars. We're never going to have to worry about it. We're going to be huge. We're going to live off this forever." Because they make it sound like, well, you know, we're taking your money and we're putting it into a savings. You got to pay your this, and then we get these advances on publishing. You know, we'd live off the publishing. We had $30,000 publishing advance. So we're like, we're going to live off the publishing now. And meanwhile, what about those 15,000 sales a week that we were doing? What about we probably went gold on Psycho Cafe.
Oh, you did? Yeah.
There's no proof of it. It was just a mystery to this.
Well, was that pre what's it called? SoundScan?
Yeah, what?
SoundScan?
Yeah, but then that came into play, but it was just all a mystery, and none of us kept on top of it because we were just like, you know, we were just told one thing. I think maybe some of the guys in the band got into it with, you know, maybe getting some money out of the band that others didn't. You know, some of that stuff probably went on. I don't know. I'm not going to say anybody's names or anything, but you know, I felt pretty, you know, ripped off from all of it. You know,
were you cool enough to share publishing with everybody? And in other words,
sometimes we split it all.
Split it 5 ways. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, and you know.
But now you said you got a $30,000 advance from publishing. Is that for a year? Or is that like, for example, I mean, I guess
they get the rights to it for like a year, the songs, or whatever. They can.
Well, that's fucking $5,000 a guy or $6,000 a guy.
We go into a pot and we split that up to live off of it.
That ain't that much, you know.
But there'd be other things, you know.
Okay.
Then you'd have the merch deals. You sell your merch. You get a $30,000 advance for a merch deal, and then you live off of that a little bit. There are all these things that would go into this pot that we basically like used to exist on when things got slow in between records or whatever it was. It's just I don't really, to be honest with you, like I told you on that text yesterday, it was kind of a giant mystery, and it's like I don't really know. You know, people think I'm some rich rock star or something, and I'm like, yeah, I didn't make it on Bang Tango, that's for sure.
Yeah,
you know, I think I've made more money off Bang Tango in the last probably 10 years because of royalties through certain companies that have paid me, that I've hooked up with through fans that told me you got to get in touch with this company, and then sure enough, I followed up, and next thing you know, I'm getting a royalty check every month. You know.
So the best thing to do as a band is get a really good fucking entertainment lawyer that's not going to fuck you raw.
Yeah, and just stay on for young bands. Just stay on top of it. Just, you know, ask the questions. You know, get proof of your sales. Get proof of where the money's going. Don't let some manager just tell you, "Oh, it's all going into a pot, and you can, you know, it's for you for down the line. We're taking care of you." Meanwhile, they're all, you know, clipping thousands off of it.
They're taking your money. Yeah.
You know, paying a producer $20,000. That guy made more money than any of us made off of Bang Tango.
Exactly.
For the first record.
For a month's worth of work.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, crazy.
Here's this band that's had a career off of this that hasn't even seen $20,000, you know. Like
Doug Pennick told me that, man. I think he said they got $300,000 to do that.
Wait, you froze up. Say it again?
There? Okay. So Doug Pennick told me that they got like $300,000 to do Dogman, which is probably their biggest record, right?
Right.
And Brendan O'Brien came in and produced that, and that was right around the time Black Hole Sun, you know, exploded and Super Unknown exploded. He was normally getting $100,000 to produce an album.
Oh yeah.
And he ended up taking only 50 to do that because he wanted to work with the King's X guys. But that just blows my fucking mind. $100,000.
Yeah,
so if you line up 10 albums in a year, you're making fucking $1 million as a producer.
That's how it works, man. The musician ain't making shit.
Well, that is fucked up, man. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, and then the video director.
We're gonna wrap up here with
the guy that did the Someone Like You video, probably, I don't know, he probably made $20,000 off directing it.
And how many days shooting was that? Like 2, 3?
I think 1.
That's insane, dude.
And guess who owes everybody that? The band.
The bandos. Exactly.
Yeah. Everything's completely changed now.
Well,
Yeah, everybody does it themselves.
And the record industry wonders why it fucking self-imploded on itself. Exactly. They deserved it. You know, that's a whole nother conversation.
It's a racket. It's a monopoly. It's mobster shit. You know, that's what the music business is and was. Probably still is, you know. And everybody,
I think it's changed a lot now because you can do your own recording at home for the most part, and you can go to Bandcamp and self-release. And
yeah, but you know, do you get the exposure? You can't. They got you by that because you know you don't have big billboard ads going across the country with your band.
True.
You know, you just it's all just I don't know. I think you know the most money I've made in the music business is selling my CDs, my solo records. Out of my trunk of my car, you know, that vibe. Like me and my wife started our own little label. I've made more money in music than I have ever in Bang Tango doing that. You know, sign picks
real
for
quick,
$15, you know.
Oh yeah, that's where it's at, dude. I mean, you know, I think that's been the future of music the last 5 to 10 years. It's just changing dynamically in the favor of the artist. I mean, you talk about someone like Robert Fripp and King Crimson. He's been 100% the antithesis of Bang Tango. He's involved from the 60s on up. He knows where every fucking penny's been spent, who owes him money, who owns those rights. You know what I mean? Like he's a lot of people look at him like he's a real curmudgeon. Although him and his wife now get on YouTube and
I've seen this.
I've seen this crazy fun, and it doesn't help that it doesn't hurt that her boobies are out all the time. That I'm all for that. Got no problem with that.
I've seen those videos. It's pretty funny.
Fucking crazy. But who would have ever thought that Fripp had a sense of humor like that, you know?
I know. I was watching those. I just can't. It's so funny.
Well, let's wrap up with Bang Tango real quick. So the band dissolves in 95. You kind of talked a little bit about that. Was there any major details there? It just kind of disintegrated over a period of a year or two trying to get that deal?
No, we did our last tour together in the UK for 2 weeks. And it just was obviously there's no brotherhood. It was just everybody was going their own directions. I was going my own direction. We came off of that and basically, you know, everybody just went their separate ways. It's like boom.
So there was never any, hey, let's just shit can this. You just went and stopped communicating, kind of, sort of.
Right. There was no discussion about it. Nobody said anything. We just got home from this European tour. I was doing my own thing and I knew where I was going. You know, I was about to get married at the time. And 6 months later, you know, I get a call from Joe and he's like, hey, I put the band back together again. Do you want to be in it? I think you deserve the right to be. I'm like, deserve the right to be? What do you mean? This is like,
I started the band, dude.
Like a band. What do you mean? I deserve?
I brought you in, remember?
Yeah. And he goes, well, and he goes, I got all these other. He had all these other cats, no original guys. And he goes, I got a gig opening up for Tesla or something. And I'm like, I'm gonna pass. And you know, from there it's been rocky ever since then. Yeah.
Well, so you did one show in 06 as the full unit, right? And
yeah, we did a couple. We did that one, and we did like a.
And you did the recent stuff in 19, right? Mm-hmm. Was there ever honestly, I'm asking you straight up. If you don't want to answer, just say I pass. Was there any real thought process by you that this could be the time it really works? We're all older guys. It's all, you know, we're going to make it work this time? Or did you go into it with trepidation going, is it going to be the same old thing? Or you get what I'm saying?
The reunion thing?
Yeah.
You know, I went into it with open, you know, minded about it. Like, let's just see how it goes, see how it works out. You know, everybody seemed to be on this, you know, big high honeymoon vibe about it. We're all, we're back together again. We got the gang back together. You know, my heart of hearts, I knew it wasn't going to last because I just want to do my own stuff, to be honest with you. But right. I was like, let's just see where these guys are at, see if we could still pull it together. And we went in and did a couple rehearsals. We actually tried it a year before. It didn't work. Tig left like 60 minutes into the rehearsal. He's like, I got to go, man. My ride's leaving. And we're like, what? So that was awful. And then we you know, Joe had called me 2 or 3 times, and I didn't have any interest, so I didn't even take his call. Then he finally, I picked up, and he's like, "Come on, let's try it, man." And I'm like, "All right." Him and Kyle had some issues they had to work out, and everybody kind of just sucked it up. We went to rehearsals, and it sounded pretty good. We got it together, and we, more than anything, I just wanted to do one show with the original guys again and see where it goes. And
that was
then
whiskey,
everything.
you guys did the whiskey show, right?
Yeah,
January
whiskey.
20?
Mm-hmm. So we did that, and it was all great. I mean, I was just taking it day by day. I wasn't looking at any big picture of it. I was like,
Right.
Figuring, hey, let's just see where we can go with it and see, and
then
right after
COVID
after the whiskey, weird shit started happening.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Just egotistical, like, everybody in that band was spotlight hungry. Everybody wanted the limelight. Everybody was doing it for different reasons, I think. And, here we are doing it again, and everybody's, has their own agenda or what they want out of it. And, and certain guys, it wasn't a camaraderie. It just became like, you do you, I'll do me. Like, vibes were coming off of some of the guys to me, and I was just like, okay, man, no. And
but I mean, it
like,
sounds to me like you. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, it sounds to me like you were probably the most, from what I gather. Okay, we're the most down to earth, realistic in interpreting what the market really was. Because let's be honest, dude. If Bang Tango came to Philly unannounced and put a gig on it, Troc's not around now, but TLA or something like that, I'd be shocked if you got 200 people out. Like, I would. That's just being honest. Maybe you might, if with the right kind of, promotion, which would really probably include fan level promotion. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to like magazines and stuff like that. But do you really think that was going to, I know that you guys were supposed to do M3, like in 20, was it? Or 20, right? And then of course, the pandemic came in, and what's that?
Yeah, you're right. The pandemic hit, so that knocked that off.
Killed that all out, right? And then, but so you're finding that each guy, it's funny to hear each guy had a kind of a different agenda, because the reality was that you weren't going to come out and suddenly play to a 2,000 seat place. I mean, it just.
Well, I mean, I knew we all knew. I mean, I think maybe I just think the fact that we had the original guys was pretty powerful, as opposed to Joe's Bang Tango he's carried around for 20 years. So
right.
That had some value, and we were getting offered some decent gigs, like the Ship Cruise Rock thing, and
these big things where you're all with a whole bunch of other bands. Yeah,
but there was always some like little hang up about like, oh well, I'm not going to go on a cruise with a bunch of fans around only. And certain guys were just like, well, I'm not going to open up for this band at M3, and this weird little things. Everybody had their little glitches about these gigs we were getting offered. It's like, well, what the hell, what are we doing this for then? And then, we would, I think, maybe I don't really know how to put it, but, we should have just sucked it up and played those shows and see where it went, and just done it. And just,
dude, at this stage, being away as long as you were, to go out for any of those guys, and if they're watching, I don't think they are, but I think you said Tig might watch. I don't know if he's one of those guys. I kind of doubt it. But if any of those guys literally were fucking tripping about going on a cruise and being accosted by fans, that's lame as fuck. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it outright, because
I mean, that's kind of how it was. Like, I don't know, and everybody. I don't know. I'm not going to like shit talk those guys, but
I don't want you to.
There was more weird stuff than that. Like, people were doing weird stuff with their own personal lives with different things, and it just I tried to write with Joe a little bit again, and I sent him some voice memos and stuff that. He'd get all high on it for a month and then disappear. And, I'm like, hey, man, you want material? I'm willing to try it. Let's try to bring a song to the band and go in and try something again. And he kept just coming up empty with everything. And then he'd get real enthusiastic about it and then disappear for 2 months. It was the same patterns. It was like hot, cold, hot, cold. And here I am, like, you know, just coming off Release and Dancing on Days of a Dreamer, my latest. I'm just about to put this out, and, you know, I've got this momentum. And meanwhile, he's trying to get me to write with him again. I'm like, okay, I got some downtime. I could put it into this and try to bring back the spark and write with you again. And he was just like not coming through with it. You know, he just balked on it. And then next thing I know, I found out he's out there in Vegas writing with Kyle. Somebody tells me that they're like in Vegas writing, and I'm just like, I put all this energy in this, and you know, it was just betrayal, bizarre, typical shit that went on in that band. And at this point, I was just like, I've had enough. You know, I'm done. I'm done. I got my own solo career. I got my own fan base. I got people that buy my CDs, and I make my own music and I sing my own songs. I don't need any of that. I got great players. It's like, why am I doing this? This is like, this just not good for me.
Mark, I'm an hour and a half in here. Do you got another half hour roughly in you?
Yeah, I got time. Yeah.
We'll get into your solo stuff now. I think we can blow off Bang Tango at this point. I think we've done about enough on that. And I would think at this point that's. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got time.
Okay, there's a little bit of a lag. Sorry about that. Yeah, I didn't want to belabor that because I know you've been down that road enough that it's probably you're kind of tired of talking about it a lot. But I think we brought some cool stuff out there. And again, it's not a shit talk stream against those guys. It just is what it is. It's like a marriage that you try to rekindle. That you're like, oh, now I know why I didn't like that person in the first place. Now I know why we split it up. You know, that kind of thing, right?
Exactly. That's what people have used that analogy many times with me about that.
And it works pretty good, right? Yeah. So you guys disband, and you start this. You got a couple bands. You started a band called Worry Beads that I don't think you did any actual. Did you do any actual recording, i.e., put anything out with it? Because I couldn't find it.
Yeah, there's a record, an EP out called Broken Down.
In fact, we find it anywhere.
It's a CD that's out. Yeah. Okay. You can get it on our website, actually.
Okay. All right.
Unsung Heroes website. Because
I'm gonna get some stuff. You know my situation. It's a little.
Yeah, man.
Because of my health, it's a little weird, and I'm trying to get disability. It's a clusterfuck. So I'll get there.
So I put that out. Yeah, basically, like I took on this whole direction of a singer-songwriter, acoustic kind of guy. You know, I got into like a lot of songwriter guys, and basically changed the sound of what I wanted to do, and went from being like this acoustic singer-songwriter guy into creating a new band together called Worry Beads, and that's how that started.
And that was that primarily did you do a lot of touring? Because I found some interesting video out there from where you were like in Kentucky, and so you did some national moving around.
We did a lot of the South. We did a lot of the South with Worry Beads and with Unsung Heroes, my band now, and me solo. I've gone back to the Kentucky and Tennessee and Atlanta and the Carolinas. We'd go back there like every two or three times a year. I'd go on tours out there.
Just van tours mainly, just cargo van and
tours. We do acoustic shows. Me and Mark Tremalia, who's the guitar player for years. We'd go out there, do just a duet, or we'd go out with the band, or we'd go out with different collaborations of the band. I did a lot out there. I had a booker out there that was really into my music, and he took me out a lot. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So Worry Beads kind of happens, and then you do this one-off with the band Gravy, which I'm reluctant to get too deep into because we might have to mention that song. Whatever you people do, don't go check out Gravy, but make sure it's the Bones album. Just putting that out there because you might be a little surprised. But that's a cool album because you add in the Hammond B3 player. You add a keyboardist in. Yeah,
that got real funky. The Rock Thomas, he produced that. He was a real funky bass player, and he kind of we kind of really funked it up on that one. Different sound altogether if you get a chance to hear it, and not that one song you like so much. But anyway,
I'm not going to mention the title. I really want to, but I'm not going to.
That was a cool band. We were like 5 guys, keyboard player, me and Mark T on guitar, John Biggs on drums and Rock Thomas on bass, and we played like 58 shows in LA in 1 year. And
Wow.
we just worked really hard. And we did some stuff up in San Francisco and Vegas, like mainly West Coast stuff. We never went to the South with that band. And then that band disbanded. I forget why, but me and Mark stayed together. Mark Schmally has been playing guitar with me for like 15, 20 years. He was in Bang Tango. He replaced Kyle Stevens when he first quit. So he was at the very end of the original lineup.
Okay.
So then from that, we did, I did a record with Matt Apps from Government Mule. We did my first solo record, Mark Knight, Bone Rail Tight. And Matt volunteered to play drums on it. Amazing drummer. So me and him, we put this killer record together called Bone Rail Tight. And then from there, we did a 2-week run in the South with that band. And then we came back. He went back to the Mule and did his stuff. And I put together the Unsung Heroes. That was in 2013. Okay. So the original Unsung Heroes was Mark Chamalio, Mark Knight, Tig Kettler on drums, and Reeve Downs from Rhino Bucket, the bass player from Rhino Bucket.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Reeve played on. Then we did a record called Road Sick Eyes.
Heard that one.
That was the first Unsung Heroes, Mark Knight, the Unsung Heroes. And then I went another direction. I did just an self-titled Mark Knight acoustic kind of record.
Solo thing, right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that was just going through a divorce, hard times, crazy. I, basically like put that whole thing together, put that out. And then back to the band again. We did Don't Kill the Cat record. And that was
heard that one?
Yeah, no Tig on that one. Ed Chanowski came in, the drummer. He produced and mixed some of that, and that was kind of a different animal. Mark T was in that one too, but just on certain parts. And then from there, did Days of a Dreamer, my latest one, and that was released 2021, which is
so I really hear a big difference between what you were doing with Bang Tango and what you ended up doing with Gravy in particular, and your solo, the Unsung Hero stuff, solo Unsung Hero band. I hear a lot of Tom Petty. I hear like mid-area, like The Waiting and some of those albums there. I hear a lot of Black Crowes to a degree, like maybe the mid-period, like maybe Amorica type Black Crowes.
Yeah, that's my favorite one.
I love that album, man. Love that album. What's that?
That's my favorite Crowes record.
Oh, dude, Wiser Time. That song.
We covered that one for 20 years. That's funny you say that.
Fucking love that song, man. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot. And of course, I hear Exile on Main Street and that era kind of Stones a little bit. Maybe not so much Aerosmith on this. I mean, Aerosmith was maybe a little bit the earlier, the Worry Beads and the Gravy stuff had a little bit more of an Aerosmith vibe, but the Unsung, I don't hear quite as much. So these albums are more your overarching influences that are coming out now in these later albums, as opposed to Bang Tango, which, again, we talked about it. It was cult-like. It was more psychedelic. But to me, Bang Tango was never like a metal band.
Right.
When we talk metal, I think Priest and Maiden. It wasn't that type of band. It was more of a hard rock band in the cult vein or something like that. What has all of your material started to move in that direction? I mean, do you ever find yourself sitting down and riffing out and going, "Oh man, that's a killer metal riff there," or have you kind of moved beyond that?
Yeah, I've kind of like got away from the metal influence. I've kind of migrated into different, influences as I get my taste change. What I like musically myself or what I listen to, I tend to apply that into my own music because I don't have like some record company telling me, no, you have to stick to the metal sound or you have to stick to the pop sound. I've never like looked at it where I'm like a burden to my music or I let the influences, what I want to play. I play or what I feel or what I think is a good song or I'm influenced by it and I write it. is what I want to do. Not nobody telling me you need to follow up and do this record because your career is going to die if you, because my career is basically just me and my wife putting these records out.
Right.
My core group of followers and loyal friends and that support my music. So it's not do or die anymore. There's no desperation or like, I know people struggle so hard with like writing follow-ups to successful records, Sure, I think, well, everybody liked this song off Days of a Dreamer. I better write another one that's as good as that.
Right.
You always do that. It's just personal. Like,
sure.
Is this painting as good as the last one? So you're always like searching for like, am I playing as cool of guitar parts as I did on the first record or the second record or the third one?
Yeah.
Are my guitar fans not going to like it? Are my singer-songwriter storytelling people not going to like because I'm too riff rock or, so those things go through my mind, but it's such a small, small fan base. I mean, it's only like the core group of people that really follow me are going to pretty much like most anything I do unless I.
Right. And I mean, you're as a writer, as a player myself, I write shit that I like to hear. If I sit down and start coming up with riffs, and granted, I'm not a recording artist and I'm not putting albums out, although I probably could if I was smart enough to understand digital recording. I'm kind of a dunce when it comes to that shit. But, I want to hear what I want to hear first. And I want to please myself first and foremost. And that's what it's really all about as an artist. Just if you imagine, fucking, Picasso painting paintings that people requested him to paint, it just wouldn't work. You know what I mean? That's just not how it works.
That's the point. Exactly.
Right.
It's like, I just, I guess I want to be understood for what I do. And that's the main thing. Like, if you don't get it, then you don't get it. But it's not that far off. I'm not writing like trippy, weird jazz music or stuff that people are, relating to. It's like, my subjects are basically real life stories and people I know and people in life experiences I've had. And I'm just basically diarying or journaling a lot of my life experiences through my songs and other people's stories. And I just pick it up and write about it and write about life and try to like cross.
How do you normally start songs? Do they start on the acoustic a lot? Do they start?
Yeah, I write everything on acoustic pretty much.
Yeah.
And come up with a decent chord progression and kind of like rattle off some subconscious, raps almost. And then I hear something, I say something, I'm like, oh yeah. And then it cues to something in my subconscious or my everyday thoughts that I'm thinking about. Maybe somebody, that's broken down the street and poor and in the gas station begging for money or whatever it may be,
Right.
It's my own personal crap. And then I just, start with that. And then I always try to come up with a decent melody for a chorus. And I do use a song structure somewhat, verse, chorus, bridges. Sure. I do the formulated stuff. I don't get too abstract because to me, I just don't like that type of music that out there. I get bored with that. I like good catchy melodies that are heartfelt and good songs, so that's kind of my approach for my song.
So I shouldn't hold my breath for the Mark Knight Gore Guts version of a song or something then, right? You're like, who the fuck's Gore Guts, right?
I should probably put something out like that just for fun.
That'd be funny.
Just to try it.
Do you know Gore Guts?
No, but I can tell what they sound like from the name.
Well, they're one of like the Godfathers of technical death metal.
I was going to say like Guar or something like that.
No, way fucking heavier. Way heavier. Really? Death metal, like Florida death metal, only so angular and weird. Obscura. Check out the album Obscura. When we get off, check it out. I know I'm going to get a text from you going, what the fuck is this, man? But it's killer stuff from a technical standpoint, but it's very difficult to listen to. Let me ask you this. And you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but do you make a living from doing music now, or do you do other stuff? Do you have a side job or a day job?
I do furniture refinishing. I refinish staining and antique old furniture. I refurbish for people, and cool. That's kind of like my day-to-day gig. I have a company called Night Crafts, and yeah, and I just, I have a shop in my garage, so I do that.
Just you alone?
Yeah. And then the music I do, it's like 50-50 income. I do that, so I work both angles. So But I don't rely on music only. Hell no, I would never, never,
Never
I
be
would,
able to survive. Right, right. And that's the
not my
story for
lifestyle. Yeah,
that's the story for a lot of musicians, man. I
yeah.
mean, the Metallicas and the Britney Spears and those people, they're the antithesis, not the rule. You know, it's like
I'm too old to get in a tour bus in a van and cruise around and play bars every night across the country. It's just, you know, I could probably make a living doing that, but it would just be brutal. Like how those, it's not what I want to do. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of bands that
tell
still
me
do
about the
that.
new album. Say again.
There's a lot of bands that do still do that. You know, they don't make a lot of money and they've been doing it their whole lives, but
Yeah.
you know, they make a living off it.
Yeah, that's hard life, man. I mean, it's one thing when you're in your 20s and 30s and maybe you don't have kids or a family or a wife, but when that shit starts happening, you know, there's no way most people can't do that, you know.
Yes. Some guys, the super suckers can. Those
Well,
guys are beasts.
yeah, those guys and fucking who is it? Dirty Rotten DRI and COC, but although COC is pretty big, I mean, they're not, you know, they've got the down pepper thing. I don't know, man. I mean, like, I know a fair amount of musicians, and like, for example, I worked for a band. You know a band called Porcupine Tree?
No.
Okay, kind of a English prog metal sort of thing. Steven Wilson, you ever hear of Steven Wilson?
Uh-uh.
Okay. They're kind of like a mixture of like if you threw Tool and Yes and Jethro Tull in a blender and threw some Radiohead in. That's kind of what they're like.
Wow.
Really good band. You might like them, but I kind of did some work for them back in the 90s and early 2000s, and they went away for like 11 years, just sort of did the disbanding thing at their height. And they came back this last year, and man, I don't even understand it. Like when I last saw them, they played a place in Virginia to maybe about 1,000 people, somewhere in that range. They played LA. They played the fucking Greek to 6,500 people.
Wow.
Like, where did that come from? Like, how did that happen? They played in Santiago, Chile to 14,000 people.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? How did that even occur? I don't even get that.
There's fans out. There's fans out there. You know, you just gotta find your niche.
Well, I think what happened with them was the lure of Steven was doing his solo thing, and Gavin Harrison is a top 5 drummer in the world. He's in King Crimson and plays with Pineapple Thief and a whole bunch of different things as solo stuff. I think they're separate careers in the music industry, and somewhat the lore of the band breaking up at the height of, you know, in 2010. It kind of built and built and built. And there were a lot of younger fans that are like, oh my God, Mom, take me to see this band. And I just don't know how that happened. But then I'm talking to Doug from King's X, and they just put their first album out in 14 years. And, you know, Doug was saying, no, I see a band around me. Pantera played to 40,000 people, Charlie and, you know, those guys. But he's like, I see some of these guys coming out and they're playing these massive shows, and we're going to the same clubs where we were only drawing 500 or 600 or 700 people. I don't get that. Like, how does that work? Who knows? You know, why?
Yeah. It's just finding the niche, you know, finding your way.
Well, tell me about Lonesome Songs. You got this is coming out sometime soon.
Great. It's coming out in spring this year. Yeah, I'm gonna release it. Yeah, wrote another batch of songs in the last 2 years, and was going to go in and get a crew together and record it. And honestly, just didn't have the money to go into the proper studio. So I recorded all the guitars and vocals at my house here on my Pro Tools studio, and brought them to Adam Hamilton, who's this amazing, talented engineer, producer, musician. And he said, let's do the drums here. I'll record you. We got Tig over there. We did all the drums at his studio, and he mixed it. And my buddy Wayne Lothian, the bass player, he helped out too with some production and also played some great bass parts. Incredibly talented musician, and just rallied these songs together, and got a whole nother song whole 11-song new record together. And to me, it's just, I love it. It just came out so great. It's a different producer, a different different sound, more. It's completely different from Days of a Dreamer. A lot more open, a lot more old school, a little bit more original. I mean, authentic sounding, not so produced. Not like I don't like that record, but I went back to kind of a little bit more grassroots kind of sounding, recording, a lot more acoustic stuff. But
that's cool.
Yeah, I got this Martin guitar that I blended with my Guild and did a lot of this. Like these songs are written that way. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. So
when you're doing that at home, are you using plugins, or are you using like a Kemper or anything? Or are you doing it all with mic and cabs and
real amps
at home? No shit.
Yeah.
Your wife must love that shit.
No, she's cool with it. I baffle it all up and
okay.
Throw 57 on my, this Fender DeVille I use 410. I pretty much did most of the guitars on it. You get every sound you want out of it.
I had a 410. Is that the 60 watt?
It's an 80 watt, I think.
It's 80 watt. Maybe mine was 82 and I didn't realize. I always thought it was 60, but it probably was 80. I sold that amp a while back because I didn't really have room for where I was going, but kind of kicking myself in the ass for that. Because you're right, you can get so many good sounds out of it.
Sound. You go to the clean channel, you break it up, proper miking and good guitars and a decent guitar player, and you got
What's your Martin? Which model Martin are you playing?
D18.
A D18, okay.
It's like
got a D28. Amazing guitars.
Yeah. And then my Guild, Jumbo Guild, I use the big Jumbo Guild I use on for years.
Guilds are beautiful. I was in I hadn't been out to a guitar set. We only have one real good, it's not even good. We have one decent guitar place around here anymore. That's how, I live in a city of like 75, 80,000 people, but it's not a sustainable area to sell a lot of high-end guitars at. And we have probably like a C-level guitar center here, meaning you walk in and you don't see a lot of killer guitars up there. You see like one Les Paul and maybe one PRS, But my daughter and I went, she was up from Asheville over Christmas, and she's recording and learning to do a lot of cool stuff. I'll send you have an iPhone, right?
Yeah.
I'll send you a track that she just did recently. Her voice is fucking insane. So if you ever need a female singer, you know where to look. But anyway, we went in and we were jamming, and I walked in the acoustic room. I'm like, whoa. They had, dude, I played a $6,200 Koa Taylor. I don't know what the model was. It wasn't an 814. Mind-blowing. Just mind-blowing. But I'm like, nobody in this town, except for maybe some rich lawyer that probably doesn't even know how to play, is going to buy that guitar. Yeah. Nobody. Like, but even the Martins, man, I was getting the urge, man. I was looking at this. It's a new model. It's called an SC13. Check it out online. It's amazing. It's Mexican made, but it's Sitka spruce, and it's got a really cool, like, the heel is like more like an electric guitar. So you can go away, it's got the cutaway.
Fire up there.
Oh, dude, it is sweet, man. It's different tone. It's got more of a syrupy Taylor kind of tone to it, which is not usually the Martin thing.
Right.
I was walking out there going, so what's the financing options on this thing? And I'm like, get out of here, dude.
Take them home sometimes for 30 days.
Yeah, but that was the thing. And I'm like, I said to my daughter, I said, get me the hell out of here right now, because I can't really do this. Just get me out of here. But all right, so that's coming out. You don't have an actual drop date yet.
Yeah, I think we're looking at like May, but we'll probably put a song out first. We're shooting the cover in 2 weeks for it. And what else about that? It's already all mixed, sequenced. We got it done. We knocked it out.
Is Knifewoud your label, or is that?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay. All right.
Me and my wife's label. We run the whole thing. She runs it actually.
Right.
Yeah.
What's entailed in setting up a label? Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
It's basically, we run through this company called CD Baby, which does everything, puts everything out on digital platform. puts you get a a group of maybe get 50 CDs made to sign for people that want physical copies.
Right.
You got the website, and that's it, really. It's just basically like, we don't have any distribution or anything. It's all through social media, and it's real just like mom and pa, just selling it out of the trailer.
Bandcamp.
Yeah.
I imagine.
I got lucky because a lot of my, fans over the years and followers of my music, they want the signed CD and they'll buy it, and we mark that up a little bit. Oh shit. I think I got to get rolling soon. But anyways, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the things you like to do outside of the musical element of your life? I mean, you talk about finishing furniture, and what other things you do?
Yeah, I surf. I grew up surfing in California. That's probably one of my biggest passions. I haven't done a lot of it lately, but what else? Pretty much that's my main outside hobby. I like football. I like.
Well, we know that. We talked about that. You're a Raiders fan. Suffering Raiders fan.
I try to keep healthy. I box. I do a boxing workout. I run. Other than that, just not a whole lot. Pretty much music.
It's getting harder at our age, dude, isn't it?
Yeah.
Things hurt and shit like that you never really expect to hurt when you wake up. You're like, what the fuck is that? What did I do there?
You just got to keep moving, man.
Do you have a favorite concert memory from maybe Bang Tango and maybe as your solo sort of thing?
Oh, geez. I've played so many shows. I can't really give you one example. Maybe, geez.
Like no giant show stands out that you were like, whoa, check this.
One time we played Irvine Meadows in LA, which was Bang Tango had played, and we were playing this show with LA Guns and Rat. It was our first arena tour, and the tour got canceled 2 weeks in because of no turnout. It was like 5,000. We're playing 20,000 seaters. So
wow,
they kept the LA show. So we went home and we played this place called Irvine Meadows, probably 10,000 people there. And I'll never forget sitting down on a stool by myself in front of 10,000 people starting Midnight Struck on the acoustic.
Yeah.
Just sitting down, like the simple 3-chord intro was like horrifying and scary as hell to play because there was nobody in the band. It was the spotlights coming at me in this huge sea of people. And I'm on a stool playing this intro. And I'll never forget that moment. It was like, whoa, it was mesmerizing, like just that many people, the lights, the whole thing. It was like, and not even like a band thing where you're all rocking out, which was great too.
Right. Just
the one-on-one. Just the one-on-one.
All those eyes are on you, man. Do you ever have an anxiety or like performance anxiety where you got to go out? And do you ever have that at all in the early days?
Sure. I mean, I get anxiety a lot it's gotten worse the older I've gotten for some reason.
Oh yeah.
Waiting around the day. Any gig day is always a long day for me. I just can't.
Stressful. I
just hate the wait. It's just like, you count the minutes till you play, even though it's like so routine. Once you're there, you're on stage, it's great. But just that whole, like that lull of like waiting. So I get like anxiety from that. I don't really have like stage fright once I'm on stage. I'm not one of these people that are like, I can't go on. I just, I don't get
turn your back to the audience and shit like that.
I don't get like nervous for the actual performance. I just get anxiety from the weight of it all, like the anticipation of it, I think.
That's killer, man. Well, look, man, I was going to do the album thing. If you don't want to do that, we can skip that. That's up to you. The past trash thing or what, or do you want to run through that real quick?
Yeah, I got some, my daughters are coming by. I haven't seen them in a while. So
cool, man. Well, look, so we don't have an exact date yet, but we think May for the new album.
May. Yep.
And Lonesome Songs on Knifewoud. And dude, this was killer, man. I mean,
cool, man.
I hope the interview was good for you, that you got some cool questions, and appreciate all your time. And hopefully I'll be in touch. We'll stay in touch, and I'll reach out to you when I can grab some albums, and we'll do that then. I'm having issues with my internet, dude. Sorry about that. Sorry, like it's weird. I didn't have anything the last couple interviews I did, but it was acting funny here. So everybody check out Mark Knight and the Unsung Heroes. Again, new album coming out, and he's got on your website, which I put all your socials in the description. The website you can get. What do you have available, real quick there, so people know?
Like all my records, all my CDs are on there. Even Worry Beads is on there.
Okay.
The old EP broken down. All my except for Road Sick Eyes isn't on there because we ran out of those CDs, but all the other ones are on there, and the new one will be on there too.
Is the Gravy one on there?
No Gravy.
I think you got to actually get a CDR of that on Amazon. You can get a CDR.
I have access to them. I'll get. We're gonna put them on there soon. There's some made that I can get from somebody. I just haven't got them yet. And then we got some merch there. We got some trucker hats. We got some t-shirts, some picks. I think that's it. There's just go to the store. Yeah, Knight The Unsung Heroes.com.
Yep, it's in the description. Mark, cool. I want to thank you a lot for doing this, brother. We'll stay in touch, and hopefully I'll see you out on the road, maybe sometime in Philly or something like that. If you ever get out this way.
Me, great time.
You bet, brother. Have a good night, and we'll see you soon. Take care, bud.
Take care.
All right, man. See you.
All right, later.
All right. Go to Mark Knight and the Unsung Heroes website, or Mark Knight's Instagram, or his actually a real good one to go to would be the Bandcamp page, because that will lead you to the website, and you can get his material there. If you like Tom Petty and you like stuff like that, Tom Petty, and I'd say probably Amorica era, Black Crows. There's some tie-ins there. It's good stuff. And thanks, Mark, for doing this. It was great. I apologize for keeping you 2 hours, but I appreciate you stepping in. And you guys, thanks for checking in Gas Masks and Hand Grenades. Real quick, some dates. I've got Kevin Huffnagel from Nuts on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I have Thursday the 5th. That's the 6th, by the way, January 6th. Thursday the 5th, I'm doing the second episode of the 80s stuff. I've changed the name, and I don't even remember what I changed the name to, but I think it's 80s and 90s bands you should know, metal bands you should know. We're doing 3 bands: Omen's first 4 albums, Icons 4 albums, and Fifth Angels 3 albums. Those are going to be the 80s, 90s special that we do with Dennis from Analog Archives. That's Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Next week, I'm trying to line up a couple of interviews, one with hopefully Colin Edwin from Porcupine Tree and ORK and Third Vessel and XY's Heads. Colin's got 9 million different bands that he's playing, and we're going to talk about a lot of that stuff. Maybe get into some Porcupine Tree. Not really sure. That's probably going to be maybe the 14th or the 11th. I'm not sure on that. I won't have a time yet. And also, God, man, I'm blanking out on all the shit I've got planned. Johnny Joelli's going to happen. I've got to get with Johnny Joelli and figure out when we can get, or maybe it is. I'm not sure. I've got Ivor Bjornsson. Man, my internet's flaking on me a little bit. Sorry about that. So, yeah, lots of stuff coming here on Gas Masks and Hand Grenades. And somewhere in there, I got to get out to the Mayo Clinic, which is going to be fun, or Cleveland Clinic. We'll see how that works out. But thanks for joining me, and peace out.